And he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, that's right. My table saw almost killed me." Last week I was on the telephone with my brother David, and we were talking about last week's video, which was how to operate a table saw safely. And I was like, every now and then you have to make those videos to remind people how important it is for safety. And he said, "Well, how's that video doing?" And I said, "It's not doing so good." And I said, "I'm really disappointed because people really need to be safe around their tools because I was almost killed by a table saw." And he said, "What?" And I said, "Yeah, that's right. My table saw almost killed me." He said, if he had been in the room with me, he would have pulled up a chair. He said, "You got to tell me this story. What happened, Leah?" And I said, "Well, it was early on in my career. I was just young. I was a young kid. I was maybe 21, 22 at the time. I had only been working in the trade for a couple years. So this is what happened. I'm in the carpentry shop, and there were no apprentices in the shop. They were all gone, and the head carpenter was gone as well. I needed to cut a sheet of plywood, and the standard sheet is 4x8, and this sheet, it was 3/4 inch thick. It was massive and heavy, and I was just like thinking nothing of it, and I threw it up on the table and I turned the table saw on. Now the table saw in the carpentry shop was a dinosaur. It didn't have a riving knife. And if you don't know what a riving knife is, a riving knife, if you're a woodworker, chances are you've got a riving knife on your table saw. And if you're just, a DIYer or you do a lot of carpentry, chances are your table saw has a guard on it with a splitter and anti-kickback paws. They're different, but they perform the same job. They're there to prevent or to help prevent kickbacks. Now, a riving knife is different than a guard because it allows you to do certain operations that you just couldn't do if you had the guard on there. Because sometimes you're not cutting all the way through the wood. Sometimes you're just cutting a groove. And if you had that guard up there, you couldn't do it. So getting back to the story, this table saw, it didn't have anything. It had no safety features whatsoever. It didn't have the riving knife, it didn't have the guard, and to my recollection, I don't even think it had a fence. Folks, the crazy thing is, I don't even believe it had an outfeed table. It was just a table saw right in the middle of the shop. So I'm in the shop, I'm feeding the sheet of plywood through the saw blade, and I get a kickback. Now I gotta tell you, there is a big difference between getting a kickback and you got a little chunk of wood coming at you at 100 miles an hour. I had an entire sheet of plywood catch the back blade of the saw and come at me at over 100 miles an hour. Now I'd like to be able to tell you I had cat-like reflexes and I dodged the sheet. That was not the case. The only thing that I can tell you is it was my guardian angel. It sailed like a kite, just a fraction of an inch over my head. If it had just been a few inches lower, it would have decapitated me. And if it had hit me in the chest, I'm sure it would have severed my body in half. It scared the crap out of me. I don't think I ever used that table saw again because I didn't attribute it to something that I had done wrong. I thought there was something wrong with the table saw. I didn't know anything about kickbacks. That's how clueless I was. And here's the thing, folks. I don't want you to be clueless about a piece of machinery like this. So moving forward, I want to say this. There are all kinds of tools that you can use on a table saw that will help prevent kickbacks and help you remain safe and help you keep all of these. Like this tool right here, it's a jig that helps you to make tapered cuts on a table saw. And then of course there's this tool. It's a Featherboard, and it will assist you in making safe rib cuts. And last, there's a tool you can make yourself. It's called a crosscut sled, and it will help you make crosscuts very, very safely. Now, if you or someone you know needs to learn how to operate a table saw safely, you just gotta watch this video right here. This is Leah saying, you can do this. See you next time.